Students have studied 12, 13 years in their home country, and they're ready to do something different. They're ready to see the world.
Hello, and welcome to the fourth episode of The Study Social. My name is Rachel, and I'm your host for this series on starting your journey as an international student. Today we're talking about all the different ways that our team will make sure that you feel supported throughout your time with On Campus. As with all new experiences, it might feel a bit daunting at the beginning, but it's good to know that you'll be joining a really welcoming community with lots of support on offer for every aspect of your student life, from your studies to your well-being. We have three guests on the podcast today: Audrey, who studied at ONCAMPUS Boston, Karina, Head of Learning and Teaching at ONCAMPUS London South Bank, and Natalie, who is the Student Support Assistant at ONCAMPUS UK North. Firstly though, let's hear from some students about how they felt supported by staff at On Campus.
I really like the fact that On Campus were very understanding and they tried to provide us with as much support as possible, and they tried to be there for us, which I think made a difference.
They helped us to feel good, even if we are far away from our family, and they're helping us to feel like home.
They focus on giving individual feedback for each person rather than the whole group, and they focus on helping you as much as they can to develop and pass.
Audrey studied at ONCAMPUS Boston and has since progressed onto UMass Lowell in the US, where she is now a senior studying business administration. I spoke to her about the support that she received during her time at On Campus. Hi Audrey, thank you so much for joining us today. So the topic we're focusing on today specifically is about the support that you received during your time at On Campus, and focusing really on that period when you were settling into your new environment. So would you be able to tell us what your first week at On Campus was like, and how did the staff make you settle in and feel at home?
It went pretty smoothly because they were very helpful, like the on-campus staff. I remember we had a lunch. They were on-campus staff, and then as well as the spring starters. They actually made us interact. So I had people to go to lunch with, because I know we all coming from different countries and we all international students. It wasn't easy, I want to say. The food is different, everything is different, but they were very helpful and supportive, and whatever question I had, because I had 1,000 to answer them. So that was cool.
It's really nice to know that you did feel that support when you moved, and there were some specific events like the lunches, like you mentioned, that really kind of helped with that transition. So that's really nice. Did you feel comfortable then talking to the on-campus staff about any issues from academic or personal or anything else that you might have had?
I felt pretty comfortable. I want to say because we started to talk before I come here. So I was already, for example, talking with Azumi before even coming to United States. So I want to say there was kind of already a relationship. So I felt comfortable. Anything I had, anything any question, I was like, hey Azumi, how about that? Hey Azumi, I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna be like this girl again. But she was always there, responsive and ready to help. So I felt personally pretty comfortable, because I want to say there was already that kind of relationship.
Amazing. Was that via email you were speaking to her? And is email the way you would communicate with her at centre, or would it be more in person or over Teams?
At the beginning, it was more email, but as soon as we had a chance, we exchanged numbers, because it was just easy to get a text, and in person as well. Whenever I knew Azumi was there, I was like, I'm gonna go and talk to her.
That's really good. And I think especially if a student didn't want to speak to someone in person, it's nice to know that there's other ways that they can communicate, and that they were receptive. So that's really nice.
So it's different, having that in-person conversation, and you just feel very comfy. I feel okay, this is a safe space.
So do you have any tips for students that might be worried about homesickness?
That was a big thing for me too. So I would say, in terms of tips, keep in touch with family and friends. Whatever way you can communicate with them, keep that relationship you build from back home. Even if you're by yourself, you're not really. There's still all those people that love you and care about you, and it's important to keep those relationships. In addition to that, be willing to adapt. Be open-minded is very important. Be willing to try new foods. Be willing to interact with others. Like they can be classmates, professor, whoever you meet. Be like open to people. By like building those new relationships, like having new friends, which are gonna help you feel better you, and then you're gonna feel less homesick, basically.
On that sort of same subject, do you have any tips for staying in touch with friends and family when there is a time difference? Because obviously that can be quite difficult.
There's like, I believe, 6 hours difference between my country and United States in like Mass. So that wasn't easy, but there is a way to go about it. I'm gonna say connect with them like during the week more through like messages and stuff, because you know they may be sleeping at the time you're eating and stuff like that. But like during the weekend, you can like use that time to call them. And I'm gonna say, especially like through video, it's so much different because you feel close to them even if you're far.
It's been great speaking to you, and thank you so much for sharing a bit about your experience.
Thank you. It was great talking to you.
Next up is a conversation with Karina Cicero, who is Head of Learning and Teaching at ONCAMPUS London South Bank. Karina talks us through the academic and pastoral support that students will receive during their studies. So, could you tell us a little bit about what sort of support is available to students during their time on campus?
The first thing they get is lots of information they need to read through for their enrollment, maybe support on how to do paperwork. That comes from our admin team. And then slowly, teachers become key in terms of how to prepare for different kinds of assignments, how to submit work, what their expectations are, what are the standards of the course, and what things they need to improve on in order to be successful. In parallel, the admin team keeps giving them support. With IT, we have a system in place for all these little problems like troubleshooting, because you have no idea the amount of issues that can arise when somebody is from abroad and is outside this system. It's not just, I'm going to study in a different language and I'm going to learn business. I need to get used to all of this technological world, and I've just landed. I'm jet lagged.
Definitely, yeah. And that's something I hadn't even really thought of. I guess even a really tech-savvy student, when you're learning a new system, especially in a new language and a new culture, it can be a lot. So it's great to hear that you've already had so much experience with sorting out these issues for students, and you've got that all in place, ready for when they start. So all students are assigned a personal tutor then when they enroll. What exactly does this personal tutor do?
Okay, so personal tutorials are groups of students divided by pathways. So maybe they will all attend the same personal tutorial as well as their modules, their academic modules afterwards. These are weekly meetings. They're 1 hour long, and the personal tutor can choose to see them all together or to see them in smaller groups. It's a safe space where they can talk one-to-one with the tutor, and it's confidential. Things that can be discussed during personal tutorials are, how to get around in London, how to use an Oyster card, how to get a bank letter from the office, how to open a bank account, how to register with a GP. Lots of different topics that have to do with well-being, pastoral care, and academic but non-academic topics.
So it's this sort of main contact that they can go to for any of these queries, which I think is a really nice thing to have. And especially if it's not just academic, it's personal as well. And I guess if it's something the personal tutor doesn't know, then at least they can help point in the right direction. Thank you so much for joining us today, Karina. It's been really nice to speak to you and to get, some of your input and advice on what a student can expect when they're studying on campus. My final interview is with Natalie Jeffers, who is the Student Support Assistant at ONCAMPUS UK North. I spoke to her about the important resources available to students to ensure that they feel supported across all areas of their daily lives while on campus. So how often do you tend to speak to students, and what's the best way for them to contact you when they need to?
I would say I speak to students on a daily basis. So my desk is at the front of the office. So when students walk in, I think I'm the first person that they see. I'm very happy to talk to anyone throughout the day. They can give me a call or message me on Teams or email me or just come to the office and speak to me about anything that's on their mind or if there's anything that they need.
Brilliant. So you're their kind of go-to, being the first in the office then, and the students, I imagine, know you quite well.
They do indeed. And a lot of them, when they see me walking around, they think I'm a student because I look quite young. So they ask me questions and then I'm like, oh yeah, I can actually help with that.
So what should students do if they need help with an issue outside of normal study hours, like on the weekend, for example?
So I think this one's a sticky one because sometimes students contact us for things that aren't urgent. So it might be like they need a bank letter or they just want some feedback on their exam. And those things could wait till Monday. So if you're messaging on a Saturday, you will most likely receive a response on the Monday. But then there's things that are urgent. So we have an emergency phone that if students need to contact us during times that we're not in the office, then they're able to do so. Obviously, if it's something that is life or death situation, don't try and email us, call 999 because you need someone ASAP.
A very important distinction there, I think. And I guess it will force students to be a bit more organised with their time as well, because they might be saving the weekend to sort of sort out these issues, but really they should be contacting in the week, ready for the weekend to know what they need to kind of do during their free time, I think. So specifically, what kind of mental health support do students receive?
So they can receive help from UCLan, as I mentioned. So UCLan have a wellbeing support team, and once you've filled out a referral form, you'll be on their list, and then you'll be able to have counselling sessions with them if that's something that you need. In the UK, there's a lot of organisations that offer support for people who are struggling mentally. So, for example, like Samaritans, the NHS Urgent Mental Health Helpline, so they are available 24 hours a day. Other free listening services can offer confidential advice from trained volunteers, but all the information is on our Moodle page as well. So at induction, we'll be able to share that with the students. And also, sometimes people just want to talk, and we're also there to give a listening ear and just to be there to support our students.
Yeah, so I think it's so important that there's so much support for mental health, which is such a wide topic. And it could be something that students might think is fairly small and they just want to speak to somebody about because they might not feel comfortable doing it to a friend or family, up to something that could be quite big and they might need a lot of help with. And to know that there is that support there for them and it's free and it can be available, up to 24/7 for some of these helplines is really nice to know, because they might come from a country or a region where maybe there isn't the same mental health support, or maybe there's certain stigmas to do with this sort of topic. So I think knowing that they can come to on campus and receive that support, because it's such a time of change and you could just be feeling a bit down from homesickness, or it could be something much bigger. So having someone to speak to is really important, I think. Thanks very much to all my guests today on all the tips and advice that they have given, from dealing with homesickness, personal tutorials, mental health resources, and academic support. Listen out for the next episode when we'll be talking about how to immerse yourself into a new culture and how to embrace change. Follow us on Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Study Social Podcast, and check out our Instagram at The Study Social Pod. See you next week.